Okay, so let's begin our discussion. In last class, we discussed about EK diagram, and we obtained this EK diagram from crystal structure, right? Now, EK diagram is basically is a plot of energy versus wave vector, right? So when we talk of energies, right? If we recall, in atom we have discrete energies, right? But in semiconductor they appears to be continuous, right? So now for continuous energies, we have a concept of density of state, right? Right. So state is basically it's like a like in a city you have number of houses, right? So let's say this is a big city. There are number of houses, right? And in each house, few people can live, depending on the rule of that country or family size. So these are this houses. The density of houses is basically similar to the density of state, and electrons are occupying those states. Correct. So there are two things here, right? One is the density of finding a empty quarter, right? Or finding a house, right? So that is denoted by density of state. Fermi function tells you the probability of that quarter or house being occupied. You understand? So there are two things here. First, how many houses are there in an area? Second, what is the probability that somebody is going to come and live there, right? So similar thing is there in semiconductors. So density of states tells you that how many states are there, or how many orbitals are there, you can say how many shells are there, right? Where electron can sit, right? Now if you consider an individual atom, these energies are discrete, but in crystal these energies they form some kind of band, right? So we have this concept of density of state, right? So for example, we can consider uh, uh, a 3D box, a 3D box, right? It's a 3D box, right? Because ultimately electrons are going to live in some physical space, right? So this density of states or number of states, it should depend on the size of the semiconductor, right? So if all the three dimensions of the cube or the box are same, then they are L. Or you can take a more general case that in X direction it is Lx, in Y direction it is Ly, in Z direction it is Lz, right? And A is the size of your unit cell, right? The number of unit cells will be in length x is nx, right? So nx times A will be Lx, right? So size of each unit cell is A cube, and the volume of your box will be L cube if it is cube, and if the dimensions are different, then you can have Lx, Ly, Lz. That will be the volume of a box, right? Now there is one important concept here called Born-Karman boundary condition, right? Now this boundary condition is basically is applied to a box or finite size of semiconductor, that from x equal to 0 to x equal to L, let's say x equal to 0 here to x equal to L, right? This boundary is periodic. Now why we assume that? Because when we try to solve the Schrodinger equation, right? If we assume some other boundary condition here, let's say we assume some fixed boundary condition here, right? Then this calculation that we do will depend on the size of the semiconductor. But if you want to calculate the bulk properties, the properties should not depend on the size of the semiconductor. If we are dealing with nanostructures or very small size material, of course surface will play a role, right? But for bulk semiconductor, its properties should not depend on the size of the semiconductor. Whether you take 1 centimeter or 10 centimeter silicon, it should have same band gap, it should have same mobility. So properties should be size invariant bulk properties. Okay. So to take care of this effect, what we assume that wave function is periodic at the boundary. So at x equal to 0 and at x equal to L, wave function are same. So now we know the solution. Psi is some periodic function UR times e to the power iota kr. Iota kr is a plane wave. UR is the periodicity of the unit cell, right? So now you can also find out if Lx, Ly, Z, Lz is the volume of the box, and if A is the size of each cell, then volume of the cell is AQ. And then if Nx, Ny, Nz is number of cells, or basically L by A, right? The number of cells will be Nx, Ny, Nz, right? So that will be number of state, provided there is only one atom inside. If there are two atoms, or let's say if Z is the number of atoms, right? Then this will be multiplied by Z. So in a unit cell, if there are Z number of atoms, then number of states will be Nx, Ny, Nz times Z, right? So that idea is clear. Okay. Now what we can do, let's explore this boundary condition further. Okay. So for periodic boundary condition, psi x equal to 0 equal to psi at x equal to L, that is e to the power iota kl, right? It can be Lx, Ly, Lz equal to 1, right? So that means iota kl should be 2n pi, right? 2m pi or 2j pi, right? So k will be 2 pi j by L. Now j is integer, right? And its value can vary from 0 to n, right? So how many solutions are there? N solutions are there, right? Why? Because 0 and n are same, right? So there effectively n solutions are there. And that's what we said. We have n number of unit cells. So for n number of unit cells, there are n possible states, right? So this k will be 2 pi by L, then 4 pi by L, then 6 pi by L, and so on, till we reach 2 pi n by L, and which is same as j equal to 0, right? Okay. Now, if each energy state, right, or each this discretized k vector, right, occupying a region of in reciprocal space, a region of length 2 pi by L, right? So if you consider 1D, then volume of one unit cell, right, will be 2 pi by L, right? It's a volume of one state. If it is 2D, then 2 pi by L square. For 3D, 2 pi by L cube. Or if Lx, Ly, Z are different, then you have 2 pi by Lx, 2 pi by L by 2 pi by Lz, right? So that will have volume of one state, right? Now this state can have two electrons, right? One spin up, one spin down. So each state can have two electrons, right? So then we can also calculate them as another state, because each state energy can have spin up and spin down, and they have slightly different characteristic. So basically we can multiply the volume of cell by 2 to get the number of states. Correct? Now let us define what is the density of states. Number of states per unit volume between energy E and dE is d times delta E. So this dE is the density of states. So this is the density of state is basically number of states per unit volume between energy E and E plus dE, and that is defined as density of states. Okay. Now this property of density of state is important near the bend edges, and it will become apparent in coming slide. And it is also one of the observation that bends are nearly parabolic. At the bend edges, they are nearly parabolic. Okay. So for example, we can have a 1D EK diagram, E versus K, right? Now, number of state we count in small length dk here, right? So dk divided by the volume of one cell. So in one dimension it is 2 pi by L, right? So dk divided by volume of one cell multiplied by 2, because 2 is the spin, because each state can have two spins, right? 2 electrons. So if you simplify it, then you get 2 pi by L. So it becomes L by pi dk, right? It's L by pi dk. Now number of state per small energy dE will become dk by dE, right? And then now we have to find out what is the EK. So you understand, up to this point, this is independent of EK relationship. So this is valid for any EK relationship, whether it is parabolic or not, it does not matter, right? This expression is independent of the EK relationship. And if you want to say DOS, density of state, you have to divide by the volume. So in 1D, what is the volume? L, the length, right? So it is basically 1 over pi dk by dE, right? So regardless of, so once you know the EK relationship, you can calculate the density of state, right? But this is the most general expression valid for all EK relationship, correct? Now if we assume parabolic EK relationship, then we can write E is equal to h bar square k square by 2m. So if it is conduction band, you can write EC plus, and if it is valence band, you can write EV minus, right? So this is basically parabolic approximation. And then d by dk is basically the slope. So wherever the slope is large, right? De by dk, that means dk by de is small. So if slope is large, if de by dk is large, then dos is small. If d by dk is 0, then what is dk by de? It will be 1 by 0. So that means dos will be very large. So dos will be large here, and it will grow small here, right? So you can calculate here, right? If E is h bar k square by 2m plus EC, and you can write a similar expression for valence band also. So I'm not going to repeat it, that you can do by yourself, because expressions are very similar. So de by dk will be two times h bar square k by 2 times m, right? So dk by d will be m by h bar square k. Now k you have to substitute from here, right? So k you can write square root of 2m e minus ec, right? If you take h bar outside, then it's h bar. If you take inside the square root, then it becomes h bar square, right? So either thing is okay. So you substitute this k here, right? You get this expression, right? Square root of m by 2h bar square e minus ec, right? So at e equal to ec, dk by de will be very large, right? And so it is basically varying as a square root of energy, right? So if you assume this ec is 0, then it's basically m by 2h bar square e, right? Square root of whole thing, right? So basically EC is a constant where the bend, actually parabolic bend, starts. So below EC, this bend is not there. So that means density of state is 0, right? So from this you can say that L by pi. So L, of course, you have to divide because that is per unit volume. The volume in 1D is basically length. So 1 by length. So 1 over pi h bar you can take outside, and root of m by 2 e minus ec. Now there is another factor of 2 that is coming here because we have not accounted this minus k thing here, right? Because there will be state here also, right? Because this volume we already considered 2 pi by L. Now there are other derivations in some textbook you may find with pi by L. So you may find this plus minus pi by L to plus pi by L, but they are equivalent basically. If you see the derivation is equivalent. So just to be on the safe side, you can always follow one procedure that we are discussing in this class, but there are other ways also to drive the density of states, and eventually you get the same expression. So this is the density of state for parabolic 1D bands, right? This is for parabolic 1D okay, and if you plot it, you will get some peak here, right? Then it will decrease, right? So you can plot it basically if you like. Now let us go to 2D. Now in 2D, again the volume of one state will be 2 pi by L times 2 pi by L, right? So 2 pi by L in x direction, 2 pi by L in y direction. So volume is 2 pi by L square, right? So total number of states. Now dk square is basically dkx dky or small area element, right? So that is 2 pi k dk, right? If you take annular region, the area of this annular region is 2 pi k dk, and volume of each unit is vk. So and each state can have 2 electron spin up, spin down. So 2 by vk times 2 pi k dk, and then if you write it 2 pi by L square, then 2 pi cancel. So it is basically k L square by pi dk, right? Now again this relationship is independent of ek relationship, right? So regardless of ek diagram, this equation is valid. So if I give you any arbitrary ek relationship, you can use this expression, then differentiate, get de by dk, substitute here to get the density of states. Now density of state will be, again you can have dk by de. Now if E is equal to h bar square k square by 2m, so plus EC, so de by dk is h bar square by m k. So you see here, you can take k this side, dk this side, so k dk, right? So k dk become m by h bar, right? So you have to substitute here m by h bar, right? So this becomes m L square by pi h bar square, right? Is it h bar? Yeah, it's h bar square, right? Right? And then if you want to calculate the density of state, you have to divide by the area, right? So in this case, it will be L square. So it's basically volume in 3D LQ, in 2D is area L square, in 1D is length L. So we divide by accordingly. So it will become m by pi h bar square, right? So for a given energy state, this will be the density. So density of a state is basically constant, right? Density of a state is constant, right? Any doubt? Okay. So of course we can go to higher dimension. Yeah.
Sir, what is K here? Can you elaborate on that?
What
K.
is?
K.
Okay,
For
K.
angle.
Mhm. K is wave vector. K is wave vector. So this is basically, you can recall EK diagram, right? It's a it's a EK diagram, right? So EK diagram has certain relationship, right? So K is the wave vector, E is the energy. So because energy is varying with K vector, so we need to find out how many energy states are there. So let's say if something is very flat here, right? That means you have a lot of states for that corresponding E. If something is sharp, then for same decay amount, you have less state. You understand? So for a given decay area, how many states are there? So if it is flat here, it will have more state. If it is sharp here, it will have less. It's you can recall. Can you recall this IV characteristic of diode and the way you define the dynamic resistance,
Yes,
right?
sir.
For a given um, voltage change, how much current was changing, right? Same thing is here for given wave vector change or given delta k. What is the variation of DE? So if you have relatively constant, please mute it. I think noise is coming somehow. I don't know. If this energy is relatively flat, that means you have a um, lot of energy states for that delta k range. And if it is vertical, then for given decay, you will have very less number of states, right? So that is basically the density of states. So density of state is number of state per unit DE, right? And per unit volume. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Excuse me.
Yeah.
How are you getting the volume as 2 pi by L whole cube for 3D, and for 2D it's square, and for 1D it's only 2 pi by L?
No, no. See, for 1D, it is only one dimensional, right? You can consider a quantum wire, right? So there are states only along one direction. For quantum well, there are states only in xy plane because z direction is confined, right? So for z
Means, sir,
direction,
how
you have
are you getting the 2 pi by L?
no 2 pi by L we obtained from this we defined one condition, right? One periodicity. Um, this the name is this Born von Karman boundary condition. It's basically periodic boundary condition. I told you in the beginning that this is the boundary condition that is applied so that the property of the bulk semiconductor do not depend on the size. Right now, this L can be infinite, right? This L can go to infinity, but if you take L as infinity, you cannot solve the Schrodinger equation. You have to take L some finite number, right? And but if you make it finite and you apply some other boundary condition, then the properties will depend on the size of the semiconductor, because the wave function will depend on the um, because see this two ends basically, if they are hinged a certain let's say zero value or something, then you will have those thing appearing in your solution. Discretization or those boundary condition will fix. Let's say you can have lambda by 2 is equal to L, those things, right? Like we did for quantum well. So instead of using fixed boundaries, we use periodic boundaries here, right? So periodic
Yes, sir.
boundaries help us to derive a solution which is independent of the size of the semiconductor. Okay.
Okay, sir, fine.
So we are discussing 2D, right? Okay. So 2D is okay. So density of state is basically a step function. Now we can go to 3D. 3D is basically again number of states 2 by vk, the volume 4 pi by 4 pi k square dk is basically a sphere, right? So area of a sphere is 4 pi k square. Then volume of that small dk will be 4 pi k square dk. Now mind it, just remember one more thing. In all these three derivations, we are assuming x and y direction there is no change. They are in uniform. It's like a cube or a square like that, right? If they are different, then you will not use this expression, right? You will use dkx, dky, and dkz, right? But this is same as 4 pi k square dk as far as volume is concerned, right? So this is basically a solution where we have assumed that all three dimensions are same. It's a cube basically. Okay. Then you can write dk by de here to get the density of state, and this has to be divided by the volume, right? So volume we have already taken care of because 2 pi by l cube. So you have 2 pi l we have taken out. So this is the density of state. Now we have to calculate now dk by de again. So this is the solution which is true for all ek relationship. Then we can substitute E is equal to EC plus h bar square k square by 2m, right? So then we get this solution which is valid for parabolic bands only. So dk by d is root m by 2h bar square E minus EC, right? So only difference 1D and compared to 2D and 3D. In 2D, 3D, when we are calculating the area element or volume element, all negative k's are included. In 1D, we have to include them separately. If you recall the derivation, so your density of state is m by pi square h bar q square root of 2m E minus EC. So can you recall for 3D, density of a state is root of E minus EC. For 2D, it's a constant. For 1D, it is 1 over square root of E minus EC, right? So here is decreasing, here it is constant, here it is increasing, right? So maybe we can summarize them here. So for 3D, density of a state is basically increasing as a square root of E. For 2D, density of a state is constant, right? Now, for 3D, for below EC, there is no density of state because there is no parabolic band there, no band there. So it is non-zero only for E more than EC. Similarly, for 2D, it's only density is constant once you encounter that energy level, right? And for 1D, again, you encounter energy level, then density of state actually decreases as 1 over square root of E minus EC, right? Now, in discretized system, you have multiple energy levels, right? So you may have one energy level here, one energy level here, one energy level here. You may have one energy level here, one energy level here. So how the this density of state will look like? So each band will have its own density of state, right? So if there is a band here, it will have own density of state. If there is a band here, it will have own density of state. If there is a band here, it will have own density of state like this, right? So maybe I can show you through multiple bands. Okay. Okay, here like this, huh? Let me do one thing. Okay. Okay. So that's how basically you have, this is one energy band, this is second band, this is first band, this is second band, right? So it goes like this basically. Now in case of 1D, it actually decreases, right? So second one start from almost same point. In 2D, it's basically constant, right? So they basically add up, right? Now, what about 0D? What will happen to 0 dimension if there is a 0 dimension? 0 dimension is? If somebody wants to ask a question? Hello? Then please mute yourself. You don't want to ask a question. Okay. 0 dimension is basically it's a
Point.
It's a point, right? So it's a box, right? Which is confined in all three directions, right? So if it is confined in all three directions, let's say it has only one unit cell, right? One cell, right? So how many states will be there? If there is only one unit cell, right? How many states will be there? Come on. For one unit cell, how many states will be there? If there is one atom, it will contain one state only. It's like a single atom, right? It's very similar to the single atom. So in single atom, energy states are basically, if you write E versus K, you have these discrete energy levels like this, right? You don't have a band like that, right? So for a 0 dimensional box will also be something like atom only, right? So if you have a single state here, your single state here, what will be the density of state? What will be dE by dk? dE by dk is for single state, dE by dk is, now in an atom that electron is can move somewhere or it will be fixed there. Electron cannot move, right? It's for atom is just orbiting around that particular nucleus, right? It's not going anywhere, right? So that means that electron is bound, right? It will not have any k vector. And if you see this EK diagram, it's a flat energy, right? No variation. So d by dk is 0. So dk by de will be 1 over 0. So you will have basically delta function. So dk by de will be, you will have delta function, right? Now each state can have 2 electron, right? So it will have 2 times delta function, right? I show you here. 2 times delta E minus EC. Now EC is just name of the energy lever where there is corresponding state, right? Well, these are discrete energy states, so density of state will be 2 times delta, right? Now there is another question for you. Okay, now in real semiconductor crystal, how the density of state look like? They are basically parabolic is an approximation, right? So they are only nearly parabolic near the bend edges. So where do you see the bend gap here? This is 0, so this is not a bend gap, so it's basically connected. Here you see some kind of bend gap, right? So you can see this, you can approximate this one by some parabola type of thing, right? You can approximate this one as some parabola type of thing, right? So these two bends are parabolic, right? So it's very small, see? And you can approximate, once you approximate them with parabolic, you can calculate the density of states in these two regions near. Now they are important only near the band edges opposite to the conduction band, so the conduction band and the valence band, because where is the maximum activity taking place. So now okay. Now 3D density of a state, we have derived this expression, and this is the expression for 3D density of a state, right? So m to the power 3 by 2 root 2 E minus EC by pi square H bar Q, right? Now this we have done assuming a same Kx, Ky, Kz, right? Right? We assumed a sphere, right? We assumed a sphere, right? That means if the state is spherical, right? Or it is S type, right? This expression is valid and we can get the density of state. What about elliptical ones? So in elliptical, what will happen? Let's say this is Kx, this is Ky, and this is Kz. So that means Ky and Kz are of equal magnitude and Kx is elongated along Kx, right? So that means the mass along Kx, mass along Ky and Kz. So along Kx and Ky that will be different. Along Ky and Kz it will be same because slope is same. You understand? So in such case, this is called longitudinal direction. Longitudinal direction. Another is called Ky Kz transverse direction. Right? So we have longitudinal effective mass, we have transverse effective mass, right? So in this case, how the density of a state will look like? So of course, your these two masses will be different because if you see here, the density of state actually depends on this effective mass, right? And then E minus EC is basically same for both of them. Only the curvature is different, right? So along one direction, let's say X direction, this is the curvature. Along Y and Z direction, this is the curvature, right? So this is for Y and Z direction. This is for X direction. So this is E versus K. So this is Kx. And for this is Ky and Kz, right? And this is E. So if you take a cross section of this ellipse, this is ellipsoid, eh? So if you take the cross section of this ellipse, you will get two parabolas, right? One for Kx, another two for Ky and Kz. So in such case, how your density of a state will look like? So for this, we can use a concept. We can find the equivalent sphere of this ellipsoid. So their volumes are equal, right? So before that, what we have to do? We have to find for individual bands, right? So if there is a conduction band, there is a valence band, right? So they will have their individual parabolic EK diagram, and then we have their individual effective masses and density of states, right? So next slide, we see how, for example, we see for gallium arsenide, right? So how the these density of states are given for gallium arsenide. So this is basically your conduction band. Now if you see here, there are three actually conduction bands, right? One in gamma valley, one in L valley, and one in X valley. Then of course minimum is the gamma valley, so this will be dominant. And then if you assume that energy level for EV is reference level, zero level, then this is EG, this is EL, this is EX, right? And they actually these values, they depend on temperature, right? So if you increase the temperature, these band gaps actually tend to decrease, right? So for example, EG at 300 Kelvin is 1.42, EL is 1.71, and EX is 1.9, right? So this E gap or E gamma, they are basically this is the lowest basically, right? So this will be your conduction band, and then you have this heavy hole and light hole. So for conduction band, you can write m to the power 3/2 root 2 E minus EC by pi square H bar cube. For heavy hole also you can write m to the power 3 by 2 root 2 EB minus E, because here E is going down, right? So above EB there is no state, right? So it is 0. So GB is 0 for E more than EB. So this is 0 for E more than EB. Similarly, this is 0 for E less than EC, right? And for more than greater than equal to EC, this is the expression. And they have their individual effective masses, right? So for electron it's Mn, for heavy hole MHH, for light hole MLH. Correct? Now in case of gallium arsenide, this is spherical, right? So not an issue. But in case of silicon and germanium, they are not spherical, right? It is elliptical. So in case of elliptical, how do we calculate? What we do, we take the volume of ellipsoid, right, which is 4 by 3 pi ABC, right? So A, B, and this is C, right? So this will be the volume of ellipse, and we can equalize that there is another sphere of radius D. So its volume will be 4 by 3 pi dq, right? You remember the volume of a sphere is 4 by 3 pi rq, right? So if D is the radius here, it will be 4 by 3 pi dq. So how do we get it? You can write E minus EC is equal to h bar square k square by 2m. So let's say x direction, right? This is y direction. This is z direction, right? And for spherical, you can write h bar square k square by 2m, right? So for spherical, all the k's are same, means their magnitudes are same. So not an issue, because see, what do you mean with that all the k's are same? That means for a given energy, because this is basically your equal energy surface, right? So for spherical, equal energy surface is spherical. Here it is elliptical, right? So these are these contours are basically denoting the same energy. So if you go to certain energy E, then the volume enclosed will be 4 by 3 pi dq, and here will be 4 by 3 pi abc, right? So if you divide this thing by E minus EC, you can write k1 square by A square equal to k2 square B square k3 square by C square, right? So ABC will be root 2m times E minus EC by h bar square, right? So for similarly you can do for the this spherical one here. So your D will be root 2m E minus EC by h bar square root, right? So now if you equate these two, now this elliptical values, for example, if you can recall that we discussed for silicon, how many equivalent x values are there? 6. For germanium, how many equivalent L values are there? 8. But they are shared, so you will have 4 only. So number of values we have to include. So total volume will be volume of each ellipsoid multiplied by number of values. So if number of values is n, total volume is 4 by 3 pi ABC times n. And now that is equal to 4 by 3 pi dq. So that tells you that D is equal to n times ABC power 1 by 3, right? Now D, A, B, C, they are all proportional to m to the power half, right? Right? So m equivalent. So for each direction x, y, z, let's say this is m1, m2, m3. So this means m to the power half will be equal to n m1, m2, m3 power whole power 1 by 3, right? So you can write here. So D is m power 1 by 2, right? Others are constant, so we can cancel it. Then n times m1 square, m1 power half, m2 power half, m3 power half, power 1 by 3, right? So m will be, you have to multiply, you have to square on both sides. So m will be n power 2 by 3 m1 m2 m3 power 1 by 3, right? So you get this expression. So if you know the effective masses for x, y, z direction, right? You can, and if their number of values are n, you can find a equivalent effective mass, right? Because we are not generally in a bulk, we are not going to track in which direction this electron is traveling. So they are traveling in all three directions. Then effective mass will be the mass corresponding to all three x, y, z direction. They are some geometrical. This is which average. So it's also it has some average, right? It's geometrical or I can't recall, but it's an average. So m is n to the power 2 by 3 times m1 m2 power 1 by 3. So you can do one quick calculation. For example, for silicon, you know ml and mt. So what will be the effective mass for silicon? Same way, please calculate for germanium. And you don't want to speak. Please type your answer in the comment box, and then you can verify in next slide. Quickly do the calculation. Now for silicon, how many uh, um, equivalent values are there? 6. For germanium, how many equivalent values are there? There are 8, but they are shared, right? So it will be 4 only. So 4 to the power 2 by 3, 6 to the power 2 by 3, then m1, m2. Now m1 will be 0.89 ml, m2 and m3 will be same as m2, so 0.19 power 1 by 3, right? So please write your thing in the comment box. I'm showing you the answer. It will be 1.08 for silicon and 0.56 for germanium. Okay. Now this is for the conduction band, right? But about valence band, in valence band we have heavy hole and light hole. So what will be the density of a state? So in valence band, what we will do? We will add both the densities, right? So we will add DOS for heavy hole plus DOS for light hole, and that will be overall DOS, right? Now DOS is proportional to m to the power 3 by 2, right? So m to the power 3 by 2 is equal to mHH to the power 3 by 2 plus m light hole to the power 3 by 2. Then if you take power 2 by 3, this will become 2 by 3, right? So that will be your effective mass for two bands, heavy hole and light hole. So this is the expression, and this is obtained by adding these two density of states. Now please remember, in conduction band they were not spherical, right? So we have to basically equate the volume of sphere with the ellipsoid. Here both are spherical, so we have to just add the two states because they are at the same energy, and split off is little away, so we don't have to add it. So now you can do the similar calculation for silicon and germanium here. So heavy hole is 0.49 m naught. Now m naught is the mass of electron, free electron. For light hole 0.16. So only for germanium, for gallium arsenide. You can also note here the effective mass is large for silicon, and this is smaller for germanium, right? And this is slightly smaller than silicon, but more than germanium for gallium arsenide, right? So that also tells you the mobility. So if mass is less, then mobility will be more basically, right? And if you recall the electron effective mass for gallium arsenide, they are actually very small, so their mobility is even faster. So this you can basically get these are value. Now these values are basically a kind of we have calculated here, but we have ignored some fact. If you see here, this is the actual EK diagram for silicon germanium, right? So this surface is not even not actually parabolic, right? It's something very complicated surface. So it's basically is resembling a cube with rounded corners. It's a cube with rounded corners, right? So therefore, whole effective mass in silicon is not exactly 0.549. It's around 0.81 m naught, right? So because here we have assumed it to be parabolic, that's why this discrepancy is coming. So this is basically some handy calculation to get the idea, right? But ultimately the actual EK diagram determines what will be the effective mass. So we can summarize it.
Sir,
Yeah, just give me one
so
more
we
minute.
can answer that.
One more minute. One more minute.
Okay.
So density of state for conduction band, m of the conduction band power 3 by 2 square root of 2 e minus ec by pi square h bar cube, and same expression for valence band. And masses you can calculate for effective mass ml mt square, so it's m1 m2 m3 power 1 by 3, and n is the degeneracy power 2 by 3, and for hole m heavy hole power 3 by 2 plus m light hole power 3 by 2, and overall power 2 by 3 will give you the effective mass. So there is one exercise for you. You can finish that exercise and leave. So this is the EK diagram for graphene, right? So here EK diagram is E is equal to plus minus h bar nu times, now kx square plus ky square, you can write it's a k basically, right? It's a 2D material. It's a 2D material. So what will be the density of a state? Now what is the density of a state? 2 over Vk, right? So 2 over Vk, 2 pi by L square, right? Times 2 pi k dk, right? Divided by dE divided by the area, right? So what is dk by dE? D by dk is h nu, right? So this becomes 2 pi you can cancel, L square you will cancel. So it will be basically k times 2 pi, right? And dk by dE will be 1 over h nu, right? And k can be written as E over h nu, right? Now there's a degeneracy factor of 2, right? So to multiply, because there are two such bands, right? So that will be your 2e by pi h square nu square, right? So you can do this calculation. Okay, thank you very much. So I will rest my class here. If you have any doubt, you can ask now or in next class. Thank you very much.